Most evil leaders explained in 27 minutes. Hopefully, actually, I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say because it might have been very wild than what I said. I'm not naming them beat. Milton, no.
Born as Temujin around 1162 in the Mongolian.
All right, Genghis Khan. Okay, so these Idiman, Kim Jong-il. I thought it was Kim Jong-un.
Genghis Khan, born as Temujin around 1162 in the Mongolian steppes, was the founder of the Mongol Empire, which became the largest land empire in history. He grew up in a harsh environment, as his father was poisoned by rivals, leaving his family poor. This difficult upbringing forced him to become ruthless, learning the importance of loyalty and military strategy at
That nigga mustache weak as hell. I'd be evil too. Weak ass stash, thin ass chin hair. I'd be pissed every day too.
upbringing forced him to become ruthless, learning the importance of loyalty and military strategy at an early age. Through sheer force and strategic alliances, he united the warring Mongol tribes by 1206 and was proclaimed Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler. Over the next 2 decades—
They gave this nigga dreads! Get the fuck up. Man, I'm very far. I have valid facial hair. Oh, it's still oh. They gave this nigga dreads.
He launched brutal campaigns across Central Asia, China, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe, conquering vast territories and leaving a trail of destruction behind. Genghis Khan is infamous for his extreme brutality, as his army slaughtered entire populations, often killing millions in a single campaign. Cities that resisted faced total annihilation, with men, women, and children indiscriminately killed. His conquest of the Khwarezmian Empire, which is now modern-day Iran—
I always wondered, how did these niggas get this much power? Like, huh? Like, what made him rise to the ranks? Genghis Khan. But like, when you really think about it, like, what made him different? That people was like, we got to listen to him and be on his team. And who did he convince? The first, I want to know who the first like 5 people he convinced to be on his team.
Iran, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan was particularly savage, as he razed cities, executed civilians en masse, and reportedly built pyramids of human skulls. He also employed—
oh my god—
psychological warfare, spreading terror to force submission. His actions were not just about conquest. He sought to annihilate any threat to his rule. His paranoia led to betrayals and executions, often wiping out entire noble families to prevent future uprisings. Despite his conquest—
do this nigga have a fucking retirement statue? Yo. I was gonna say that too, bro. All these old ass pictures and videos, no 100-point footage. And Candy, you're not wrong. He probably was like, they probably like, what's math? He said 1 + 1 = 2. We gotta follow him.
He was not invincible, as in 1227, he died under mysterious circumstances, possibly from injuries sustained during a fall from his horse or an illness. His death—
nigga died weak as hell. You fell from your horse and died? What kind of evil leader are you? The nigga fell from his horse and died. Yo, move, man. We not scared of you.
Death was kept a secret to prevent instability, and his burial site remains undiscovered. While he established trade routes in a vast empire, his reign left countless civilizations in ruins, and his descendants—
like, imagine being scared of this nigga and then you find out that he fell off a horse and just died. You'd be like, imagine working for this nigga. Imagine being a store runner for this nigga. And you like, I got you. Yes, yeah. And you look and you like, oh, that nigga fat. That nigga died. We listen to this song, like—
continued his ruthless expansion. His actions define him as one of history's most terrifying and destructive figures in history. Vlad the Impaler, also known as Vlad the—
that nigga got what the fuck is that? He got a cinnamon stick on his shit. Yo, what if I got that as a mustache? Would that be valid?
Third Dracula
Would that be valid?
was a 15th century ruler of Wallachia, a region in present-day Romania.
Oh shit, this nigga looks scary. He like an evil Disney character.
Born in 1431, he was the son of Vlad II Dracul, a member of the Order of the Dragon, which was a chivalric order dedicated to defending Christendom from the Ottoman Empire.
Bro, I think I could put that mustache off though.
As a child, Vlad and his younger brother Radu were taken hostage by the Ottomans, where they were exposed to both the brutal realities of war and the political intrigues of the empire.
Where that nigga upper lip at? Is it under the stash? Huh?
This experience shaped Vlad into a ruthless and calculating leader, determined to reclaim his homeland and assert his dominance through terror. Vlad is infamous for his extreme cruelty.
What kind of weapon is that?
Specifically his favored method of execution, impalement. He used his gruesome techniques to instill fear in both his enemies and his own people, and he often had thousands of prisoners, including Ottoman soldiers and Wallachian nobles, impaled on long wooden stakes, leaving forests of corpses rotting outside of his castles. His most
this nigga was evil.
Infamous act of terror was the mass impalement of 20,000 Ottoman soldiers.
First of all, how the fuck do you get them up there? Ain't no ladders back then. You was just throwing these niggas up there? Oh my god.
Outside the city of Targoviste, reportedly causing Sultan Mehmed II to retreat in horror. His cruelty extended beyond warfare, as he punished criminals, disloyal nobles, and even commoners with sadistic brutality, using mutilation, dismemberment, and other torturous executions to maintain.
You know, one of the, I mean, it's off subject. One of the most annoying kind of conversations to have is when like people be like, if I was back in the day during slavery, I would have beat my owner's ass. And I'm like, you don't think they thought about that shit and got killed? This is completely off subject, but it's just because this is like unlike the shit of that. Like I'm telling you, ain't none of us fighting them. Ain't none of us fighting them, bro. We don't have no weapon. Now we might, if you take us like right now with our brains and our like kind of knowing about technology, like if you took all of that, not the technology, but if you took our brains and our bodies and put it back then, maybe. But you can't, because back then they didn't have the kids nowadays be 14 and they be 6'8", 240. How? I don't know. Don't know. I don't know what's in the water, in the milk, in the calcium, whatever, orange juice, whatever y'all be drinking. I don't know. But you niggas be big now.
In control. Vlad was ultimately killed in battle in 1476, likely ambushed and beheaded by his enemy.
Oh shit, no. I don't like that. I don't like that. That just scared the fuck out of me. But like we not gonna go back there and fight. Like we're not. 11-year-old 6'3" kid. That nigga tall as fuck at 11. He got 7 more years to grow.
Combined with his association with the name Dracula, inspired the modern vampire myth, ensuring his terrifying reputation continues on. Leopold II of Belgium, born
That's how my beard need to look. Boy, listen.
Born in 1835, was the second king of Belgium, ruling from 1865.
Hey, can we talk about it? These names. Leopold II of Belgium.
To 1909. Crazy. Raised in privilege, he was ambitious.
Ain't no way I would have been scared of this nigga. He got chops and no fucking beard. Never mind. His beard was on the side. I'm not scared of this nigga.
And sought to expand Belgium's influence beyond Europe. With Belgium itself being a small country with limited power, Leopold turned his attention to Africa, seeing it as an opportunity for wealth and prestige. In 1885,
he cut the nigga hand off. I'm a little nervous.
He established personal control over the Congo Free State under the guise of philanthropy and humanitarian efforts, claiming he wanted to civilize and Christianize the native population. However, His rule over the Congo became one of the most brutal colonial regimes in history. Leopold's exploitation
this nigga might be a savage.
of the Congo was driven by greed, specifically for rubber, which had become highly valuable due to industrial demand. He imposed a brutal forced labor system where Congolese villagers were terrorized into meeting rubber quotas. Those who failed faced horrific punishments, including amputations, whippings, and executions. Entire villages were burned, and millions of people died from overwork.
This is exact. I don't know how this happened, but this is what I was talking about. You niggas ain't rebelling against Leopold. He cut hands off. Me? I'm not doing that. I'm gonna be a good house nigga. No. You ain't cutting my goddamn hands off.
Starvation and violent repression.
Good,
it is estimated that his rule led to the deaths
I'm gonna say that, run with you and then stop.
of up to 10 million Congolese people, and his administration used widespread mutilation, torture, and mass killings to maintain control.
I'm gonna run with you and then I'm gonna stop and be like, Massa! And then I'm gonna get in the house.
Making his
and then I'm gonna have a lot more amenities.
Regime one of the most genocidal in history. Despite efforts to hide the truth, international pressure and reports from missionaries and whistleblowers exposed the atrocities. In 1908, under immense criticism, Leopold was forced.
Yeah, all this was in like way before like anything. Like 1908 is still. 1908 is crazy because this was 100. I mean, it's like 17 years, like 117 now. 100 years when you like really think about that shit. That is forever. So much has happened, in let alone 10 years. So 100? Like 10 years ago, did y'all think y'all would be where y'all at right now? Whether it's better or worse than what you thought. Do y'all think y'all would be where, like there? Like when 10 years ago for me was 15, I was just getting out of high school. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I didn't know where my life was going to go. I had no plan. I had a plan to do content. I always knew I'd make people laugh, but I was like, man, I'm gonna start just slinging these boxes. I wouldn't think I'd be watching you.
To relinquish control of the Congo to the Belgian government. He died in 1909, despite
I was being a hooch in high school. W hooch.
by many, though he remained unapologetic, and his funeral was met with public celebration. While Belgium prospered.
Damn, this nigga just be chopping arms off and then saving. Yo, I'm not gonna lie to you. This nigga's evil. This nigga chopped your arm off and then stopped the bleeding so you just live with no hands? Yo, this nigga's evil. I'm not gonna lie.
From his wealth, the Congo was left in devastation, suffering long-term consequences that still impact the region today. Joseph Stalin, born in 1878 in Georgia, which was at the time part of the Russian Empire, was the dictator of the Soviet Union from the mid-1920s until his death in 1953. Born into poverty, he endured a harsh childhood with an abusive father. He initially trained for the priesthood, but was drawn to revolutionary Marxism, joining the Bolshevik movement. After the Russian Revolution of 1917, Stalin rose through the ranks of the Communist Party, eventually consolidating power after Vladimir Lenin's death. By the late 1920s, he had established himself as the absolute ruler of the Soviet Union. Stalin's reign was marked by extreme brutality, as he launched forced collectivization of agriculture, causing mass famine, most notably the Holometer in Ukraine.
So they have all these pictures. But still no Wilt 100-point game.
Ukraine, which led to millions of deaths. He initiated the Great Purge in the 1930s, executing or imprisoning millions of perceived enemies, including political rivals, military officers, and ordinary citizens. His totalitarian rule relied on mass surveillance, labor camps, and widespread fear to maintain control. Despite his cruelty, he played a key role in the Soviet victory over Germany in World War II, though his paranoia led him to purge his own military leaders before the war even began. Stalin's ruthlessness stemmed from a deep-seated paranoia and an obsessive desire for absolute control. He saw enemies everywhere and was willing to sacrifice millions to maintain his grip on power. His policies resulted in an estimated 20 million deaths, and he eventually died in 1953 from a stroke, with many believing his own advisors delayed medical treatment out of fear. His legacy is deeply controversial, as some in Russia view him as a strong leader who modernized the country, but most of everyone else remembers him as one of the most evil dictators of all time, responsible for immense suffering and repression. Benito Mussolini, born in 1883 in Predapio, Italy, was the founder of
I'm not scared of no nigga named Benito. I'm sorry. This is too close to Benzino. I'm not scared of you, bro.
Italian fascism in the
Hold on, this nigga's chapter is long.
dictator of Italy from 1922 to 1943. Raised in a socialist household,
I'm telling you, any nigga with no facial hair, you gotta be worried. I'm sorry, any grown man with no, you gotta be worried.
he was initially a political radical,
Any grown man with no facial hair and he's bald, you need to be worried. I don't know what's wrong with him, but
later abandoned socialism in favor of extreme nationalism. After serving
I ain't gonna lie. He got that shit on though. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie to you. Hey, he got that shit on though. Like when you really break it down, the satchel bag, the little cuff shits right here, button up with the tie and the beanie. He got that shit on. Hey, listen. He really put that shit on. I ain't gonna listen.
in World War
I gotta see
I,
another fit though.
he capitalized on Italy's post-war instability by forming the Fascist Party, promoting authoritarian rule, militarism, and expansionism. In 1922, he led the March on Rome, forcing King Victor Emmanuel
Literally, Ty. Look at this old ass fucking picture. He got that shit on.
III to appoint him as prime minister. By 1925, he had dismantled democracy and declared himself Il Duce, meaning the leader, ruling Italy as a
Hey, that nigga stay with a satchel bag though. He stay with a satchel bag. Real nigga. I relate.
totalitarian dictator. Mussolini's rule was marked
Oh yeah, that nigga. Hey, come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. This nigga got that shit the fuck on, bro. Look at this nigga. Look. Listen.
by oppression,
Satchel, hat, gloves, jacket with the tie, and man, stop playing.
war crimes, and brutal repression. He created a police state, silencing opposition through imprisonment, torture, and assassination. His regime suppressed free speech, controlled the press, and indoctrinated.
The belt? Oh, that's a Louis belt too.
He created a police state,
El Duce.
silencing
I'm not naming my dog Benito. What about Nito?
opposition
Too many syllables. Benito, too many syllables.
through imprisonment, torture, and assassination. His regime suppressed free speech,
I'm gonna name my dog Todd.
controlled the press, and indoctrinated citizens with fascist propaganda. Obsessed with reviving the Roman Empire, he launched aggressive military campaigns, including the brutal invasion of Ethiopia in 1935, where his forces used chemical weapons and massacred civilians. He later aligned Italy with Germany, enacting anti-Semitic laws and participating in World War II. Italian troops committed atrocities in the Balkans and North Africa, with entire villages wiped out in retaliation for resistance. Mussolini's downfall came in 1943 when Allied forces invaded Italy and he was overthrown by his own government. Rescued by German soldiers, he led a puppet state in northern Italy but lost all real power. In April 1945, as the Allies closed in, he attempted to flee but was captured by Italian partisans. He was executed and his body was publicly displayed in Milan, where it was desecrated by enraged citizens. His legacy is one of dictatorship, war, and oppression, leaving Italy in ruins and setting a precedent for fascist regimes worldwide. Francisco Franco, born in 1892 in Ferrol, Spain, was a military general who became the fascist dictator of Spain from 1939 until his death in 1975. Raised in a conservative, military-oriented family, he joined the Spanish army and quickly rose.
Look at this nigga's hairline. God damn. Yo shit cooked.
To the ranks. By the 1930s,
I want to see that shit from the front.
1930s, Spain was politically unstable, divided between left-wing Republicans and right-wing nationalists. In 1936,
it's crazy because the nigga look bald, but he's not bald.
Franco led a military coup against Spain's democratic government, igniting the brutal Spanish Civil War. After 3 years of fighting and immense bloodshed, he emerged victorious in 1939, establishing a fascist dictatorship that would last for nearly 4 decades. Franco's rule was characterized by extreme repression, mass executions, and systematic political persecution. He targeted leftists, intellectuals, and anyone suspected of opposing his regime. Tens of thousands were executed in the post-war purges, and many more were imprisoned, tortured, or sent to forced labor.
Like, could y'all... I don't think people realize how fucked up this was. Could y'all imagine sitting in y'all house, playing y'all games, streaming, whatever, watching streams, watching TV shows, watching baddies, watching football on a fucking Sunday, right? And you just get a knock on your door and they like, yo, come outside, we leaving. And you like, nigga, excuse me? And after that, the niggas just snatch you up and they just take you. Fucking crazy.
Camps. His government also kidnapped thousands of children from Republican families, placing them in institutions to be quote-unquote re-educated under fascist ideology.
This nigga was grooming kids. Oh God, can you not be seen again? This nigga was grooming kids. Oh God.
Political opposition was silenced through censorship, surveillance, and brutal crackdowns, and he maintained power through fear, using secret police and military tribunals to crush dissent. Franco aligned himself with Germany and Italy during World War II, but remained officially neutral.
Last meal, nigga. You ain't getting no last meal. You getting snatched up. Whatever you ate last is gonna be your last meal.
To avoid Spain's destruction. After the war, he distanced himself from Hitler's legacy and gradually gained international acceptance, specifically during the Cold War, where Western nations viewed him as a person who opposed communism. Despite this, his dictatorship remained oppressive until his death in 1975 from heart failure, while some credit him with maintaining stability.
What? Nigga, that's when my parents were born. He was still alive and doing this. What the fuck? Yo, I ain't gonna lie. Our grandparents and great-grandparents went through some bullshit. Oh, wow. You know what? I can't even get mad at my grandma not knowing how to work a fucking iPhone. She went through that shit. Like, she didn't go through this shit, but like they went through an era of not even having anything but a fucking, what is it, a pager? Imagine going from a pager to fucking iPhones in your lifetime. I don't know if that, what is the equivalent for us? Well, obviously we haven't had it yet. What do y'all think would be the equivalent for us? Like, we start off with something, I guess games, probably. Maybe games. Like, maybe like consoles and shit.
He is widely condemned for his brutality and suppression of
internet for sure. Internet for sure. BlackBerry, well, you can say that's news, but we also had phones. I would say internet for sure. Cause we went from nigga, imagine trying to stream and you gotta hear that. Imagine you gotta hear that shit, bro. Man, niggas will never be good. Like,
of democracy. His rule left lasting scars on Spain in efforts.
And the thing is, like, you couldn't even, like, y'all remember you used to be able to like, well, not now, well, I guess in like high school, kind of like now, you can like sneak and get on the little laptops, you know, Nintendo Switches, PSPs, phone, all that shit, right? Nigga, you could not sneak and get on no internet when we was younger. You could not, because you got to turn that shit on. And the thing about it was, it had speakers. So like you got to turn that shit on and it made like a loud ass noise. And then you got to dial that shit up to get the internet to work. Fuck out of here.
To figure out the true magnitude of his crimes continue to this day. Adolf Hitler.
And then everything took forever to load.
Born in 1889 in Austria, was the leader of Germany from 1933 to 1945.
Crazy.
Raised in a strict household, he was an aimless youth who failed as an artist before finding purpose in German nationalism. After serving in World War I, he became involved in politics and joined
That's crazy. My great grandma was born in 1940 something. I forget. Crazy.
the German Workers' Party, later transforming it into the Nazi Party. Exploiting economic hardship and resentment over Germany's defeat in World War I, he rose to power and was
Nigga, this video wouldn't even load.
appointed chancellor in 1933. By the following year, he had established a totalitarian regime, eliminating political opponents and assuming
Nigga had this weird ass mustache.
absolute control.
Want to be different ass nigga.
Hitler's rule was defined by genocide,
What this nigga like abandoned as a child or something, so he took it out in the world? Sorry ass nigga.
war, and totalitarian oppression, and he initiated World War II by invading Poland in 1939, leading to a global conflict that resulted in over 70 million deaths. His most infamous crime was the Holocaust, in which 6 million Jewish people and millions of others, including Slavs, Romani people, disabled individuals, and political descendants, were systematically killed in concentration camps. His ideology, based on extreme racism and anti-Semitism, sought to create an Aryan-dominated empire, justifying mass killings and brutal warfare. Under his leadership, Germany committed widespread atrocities, including forced labor, medical experiments, and scorched earth policies. Hitler's relentless ambition and refusal to accept defeat led Germany to ruin. As Allied forces closed in on Berlin in April 1940.
Hey, this nigga, do he got on a shoe? Is them two different color shoes? Oh God, they exposed me. Don't mind that. I got YouTube Premium anyway, so it don't matter. He got on two different color shoes.
45, he took refuge in his underground bunker. On April 30th, 1945, he ended his own life alongside his wife, Eva Braun, to avoid capture. His body was burned per his instructions, and his actions left deep scars on the world, with his ideology remaining a warning of the dangers of extremism, dictatorship, and hatred. Mao Zedong, born in 1893 in Hunan, China, was the founding leader of the People's Republic of China.
I feel like it's a lot of Chinese and Asian, like, fucking leaders like this.
And ruled as chairman of the Chinese Communist Party from 1949 until his death in 1976. Raised in a peasant family, he initially pursued education but became radicalized by Marxist ideology. He played a key role in the Chinese Communist Revolution.
Hey man, listen real quick. Eva, remind me after this video to tell that story.
Leading his forces in a prolonged civil war against the nationalist government. After victory in 1949, he transformed China into a one-party communist state, implementing policies that dramatically reshaped the nation, but also caused immense suffering. Mao's rule was marked by mass purges, forced collectivization, and ideological campaigns that led to the deaths of tens of millions. His great leap forward between 1958 to 1960.
People who have this, I know it's a mole, but I just want to get like a little pen and just pop it. I'm sorry. I want to. But I remember I had said that to somebody and my grandma was like, they can die, right? I said, huh? It's just a little mole. Apparently moles just bleed.
To the deaths of tens of millions.
I didn't know that.
His great leap forward between 1958 to 1962, an economic plan aimed at rapidly industrializing China, resulted in one of the deadliest famines in history, killing an estimated 30 to 45 million people due to mismanagement, starvation, and executions. His paranoia and desire for absolute ideological control led to the Cultural Revolution between 1966 to 1976, which was a violent purge of perceived enemies, during which millions were persecuted, tortured, or killed. Intellectuals, political opponents, and ordinary citizens suffered in mass purges, and China was thrown into chaos. Mao's brutal policies stemmed from an obsession with power, ideological purity, and a willingness to sacrifice countless lives for his vision. He died in 1976 from complications related to Parkinson's disease and heart issues, leaving China in turmoil. While he modernized China and solidified communist rule, he is also remembered as one of history's most ruthless leaders. His policies caused immense suffering, and his totalitarian rule left scars that continue to shape China's political landscape today. Kim Il-sung, born in 1912 in Japanese-occupied Korea.
That nigga went to Dr. What's the name? That nigga got a beautiful smile.
Korea, was the founding dictator of North Korea, ruling from 1948 until his death in 1994. Raised in a nationalist family that opposed Japanese rule, he became involved in communist guerrilla activities in Manchuria. After World War II, the Korean peninsula was divided, with the Soviet Union backing Kim in the north and the United States supporting a separate government in the south. In 1948,
he looked like this nigga loved his job. He loved fucking the world up.
He established the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, consolidating power as the country's supreme leader. In 1950, Kim launched the Korean War by invading South Korea, seeking to unify the peninsula under his rule. The war resulted in millions of deaths and devastated both Koreas before ending in a stalemate in 1953. After the war, he transformed North Korea into a totalitarian state, enforcing strict ideological control through propaganda, mass surveillance, and violent purges. He established the oppressive Juche ideology, which promoted self-reliance but led to economic stagnation and famine. His brutal regime included forced labor
This nigga is happy.
camps, public executions, and the
I ain't gonna lie, I work for him too.
persecution of anyone suspected of disloyalty, including entire families. Kim's obsession with power and control led him to create a dictatorship, paving the way for his son and grandson to continue his brutal legacy. His government maintained absolute control through a cult of personality, portraying him as a godlike figure. He died in 1994 from a heart attack.
This nigga too close to modern day. What do you mean he died in 1990 something? What?
Leaving behind an impoverished, isolated nation suffering from widespread repression and famine. The dictatorship he built continues to oppress its people, using terror and propaganda to maintain power, making his influence one of the most destructive in modern history. Idi Amin, born around 1925 in Uganda.
This nigga look evil. I don't know what it is, bro, but like, this nigga just like, he just look evil. Like, you can't trust a nigga with nothing. You can't. Hat with 2 buttons. Hey, a 2-button hat is insane. Look at this nigga. This is not Trey.
Was a brutal dictator who ruled the country from 1971 to 1979. Raised in poverty, he received little formal education before joining the British colonial army, where he gained a reputation for cruelty and ruthlessness. Rising through the ranks, he became Uganda's army.
I ain't gonna lie, babe. I was thinking about getting some Five Guys. Like, I know it's gonna cost $42.60, but
chief, and in 1971, he seized power in a military coup, overthrowing President Milton Obote, initially welcomed as a change from Obote's.
Damn! Look at this nigga's. Look at this. Look at this nigga's headline. I ain't gonna lie to you, Milton. I'm not scared of you, bro. I'm not scared of you, nigga. Look at your shit. Nigga, I'm cooking you every time I see you, nigga. Yo, oh my God. This nigga's hairline is terrible.
Was corrupt rule. Amin soon revealed himself as
this nigga just looked like he upset.
One of Africa's most violent and oppressive leaders.
Oh, shit. Nigga like Rick Ross. Got his belly out with a fucking rocket launcher. Oh, this nigga wanted hell. He wanted hell. Hey, tummy out. Belt is damn near loose with a rocket launcher. This nigga don't care. He got it. I'm sorry.
His rule was marked by.
And the nigga beside him is cheesing. My bad, I'm in the way. That nigga is over there cheesing. Like, yeah, do that shit. The fuck are they about to blow up? That is a button. That's his belly button. Oh, he is wearing a shirt. You ruined it, Maya. I wanted to believe this nigga was shirtless shooting rocket launchers. My mind won't tell me nothing. Nope. He's shirtless. He's shirtless. Fuck that. He's shirtless.
Mass killings,
ethnic tummy out,
persecution, and economic collapse. He expelled Uganda's Asian population.
You know what? Now that I look at the entire picture, it makes sense. Because I don't know why I thought his pockets was out. I thought that nigga pockets was out. And I was about to say, yo, this nigga don't care about nothing. I was like, this nigga shirtless, pockets out, loose belt, shooting rocket launchers. You got it.
In 1972, seizing their businesses and properties, which devastated the economy. Amin launched brutal purges against...
Guys, I was going to ask y'all, should we make an emote for the ladies? If so, what should it be? Like, we got to make them like a dancing emote. It'll be like Lada, I think. Should it be a dancing emote or should it, what should it be?
Political opponents, intellectuals, and ethnic groups he deemed a threat, resulting in an estimated 300 to 500,000 deaths. Bodies were dumped in rivers, and torture was widespread. His paranoia led him to execute even close allies, military officers, and government officials. He declared himself president for life and ruled...
Twerking, dance, emote. Okay, I'll find one.
With absolute power, indulging in a lavish lifestyle while his people suffered. Amin's reign of terror...
Is he finna tie this nigga to the light pole?
...was fueled by his erratic, violent nature...
Mega's knees, because they ain't got him in real life. I think that's what we're gonna do.
...and obsession with power. He admired brutal dictators and saw violence as a means to maintain control. His downfall came in 1979 when Ugandan exiles, supported by Tanzania, invaded and overthrew him.
Is there shit like this going on now? Like right now? Is there some shit like this going on now?
Fled to Libya and later Saudi Arabia, where he lived in exile until his death in 2003 from kidney failure.
If so,
though his
where?
rule ended decades ago, the scars of his brutality still affects Uganda, serving as a grim reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and tyranny. Pol Pot, born Saloth Sar in 1925 in Cambodia, was the leader of the Khmer Rouge.
This nigga's name is Pol Pot. Pol Pot. Yeah, okay, bucko.
Dictator of Cambodia from 1975 to 1979, raised in a relatively well-off family.
Yeah, I'm not scared of this nigga, bro. I'm not scared of this nigga.
He was educated in France, where he was introduced to communist ideology. After returning to Cambodia, he became involved in the communist movement and eventually led the Khmer Rouge to victory in the Cambodian Civil War. In 1975, his forces seized power and established Democratic Kampuchea, beginning...
I'm sorry, I'm not scared of this nigga.
...one of the most brutal regimes in history. Pol Pot sought to create an agricultural communist...
Like him, I'd try to fight.
...utopia by forcibly evacuating cities and sending millions of people to labor camps. Intellectuals, professionals, and even those who simply wore glasses were executed as enemies of the revolution. His policies caused mass starvation, overwork, and widespread executions, leading to the deaths of an estimated...
I'm not scared of this nigga.
1.5 to 2 million people, which was about a quarter of Cambodia's population.
Nigga, like he just bit a lemon.
The infamous killing fields became sites of mass executions, where victims were brutally killed and buried in mass graves. His regime used
Alright, I'm a little nervous.
Extreme paranoia to justify purges.
Why would they have Jim Jones on here?
With even high-ranking officers being
this nigga collecting skulls and bones.
Tortured and executed. Pol Pot's brutal policies stemmed from his belief that absolute control and radical social engineering were necessary to build a pure communist society. He showed no remorse for the immense suffering he caused, and his rule ended in 19...
This nigga was 5'3"? What's up, Don? This nigga was 5'3". How?
1979, when Vietnam invaded Cambodia and overthrew the Khmer Rouge. He fled into the jungle, where he remained a fugitive for nearly 2 decades. And in 1998, he died under mysterious circumstances, possibly from a heart attack, while under house arrest by former Khmer Rouge members. To this day, Cambodia is still struggling to recover from the horrors of his reign. Saddam Hussein, born in 1937
this nigga was scary.
in Tikrit, Iraq, was the dictator of Iraq from 1979 until his overthrow in 2003. Raised in poverty in a violent household, he joined the Ba'ath Party as a young man and participated in coup activities before seizing power. In 1979, he became president of Iraq, ruling with absolute authority. His reign was marked by brutal repression, aggressive expansionism, and crimes against humanity. One of Saddam's most infamous acts was the mass killing of political opponents, including purges within his own government, and he also launched the Iran-Iraq War between 1980 to 1988, which was a devastating conflict that left over 1 million dead.
I got a question, bro. Do y'all think some shit like this could happen in the United States? Like let's say, for example, Trump. Whether you like him or I don't give a fuck. We're not here to talk politics. I'm using that as an example. Do y'all think this shit can happen? Like if Trump was like, go do this now. You think niggas would be like, yeah. I don't think it would work either. I think niggas would be like, shut your stupid ass up. Just continue with their day. Like, man, give me some more stimulus checks, nigga. Fuck up.
Using chemical weapons against Iranian soldiers and Kurdish civilians, most notoriously in the 1998 Halabja massacre. In 1990, he invaded Kuwait, triggering the Gulf War. Defeated by a US-led coalition, he remained in power but intensified his domestic repression. His secret police tortured and executed dissidents, and entire communities were massacred. Saddam's reign was characterized by paranoia, as he surrounded himself with loyalists and crushed any opposition. Saddam justified his brutality through nationalism and a desire to maintain power at all costs. He saw himself as a modern-day conqueror, using fear and violence to solidify his rule, and his downfall came in 2003 when the US invaded Iraq, citing weapons of mass destruction and human rights abuses. Captured later that year, he was tried for crimes against humanity and executed by hanging in 2006. Iraq was left fractured by his dictatorship, and the power vacuum after his fall led to further conflict, including the rise of extremist groups. Mengistu Haile Mariam, born in 1937 in Ethiopia, was
this a cool looking ass nigga. I'm a little nervous.
The military dictator who led the country from 1977 to 1991. Coming from a modest background, he joined the Ethiopian army and quickly
this nigga look too nice.
Rose through the ranks. In 1974, he played a key role in overthrowing
this is not me.
Emperor Haile Selassie, establishing a Marxist-Leninist military government.
Yo, this nigga looks serious.
Known as the Derg. After consolidating power in 1977, he launched the Red Terror, a campaign of mass executions and brutal repression aimed at eliminating political opposition. Under Mengistu's rule, Ethiopia experienced one of the most violent periods in its history. Tens of thousands of—
Hey, this is a cool ass nigga, bro. That's a cool ass nigga. You see how perfect that afro is? This is a cool ass nigga. I would have been on his side.
Suspected descendants
I would have been like, yep.
Were tortured, executed, or made to disappear. Bodies were often left in the streets as a warning to others, and his government forcibly relocated rural populations, leading to mass starvation. During the Ethiopian famine of the 1980s, Mengistu prioritized military spending over humanitarian aid, allowing millions to suffer and die. He used famine as a weapon, denying food to regions that opposed his regime. His brutal policies, along with economic mismanagement, left Ethiopia in ruins. Mengistu—
I don't know why I just had this has nothing to do with this picture right now. Do y'all remember going into barbershops? Maybe they still have them, but I go to this house, but y'all remember barbershops used to have that poster with the numbers on it? And niggas are like, yo, let me get a number 7. Let me get a number 7. Like we ordering fucking food. That's just what it looks like. That's what it looks like.
His cruelty stemmed from his ruthless desire to—
I don't go to a shop, so that's why I haven't seen it.
Maintain power, and his belief in absolute state control. His paranoia led him to eliminate even those within his government suspected of—
Side story. I never forget, my mom dropped me off because she went to go grocery shop across the street. And she was like, give him a dark Caesar, even all over. I said, man, can I get, I don't know what number it was, but let's just say, for example, I was like, can I get a number 12? He said, your mom gonna whoop you? I said, nah. I'll be okay. I think it was like a fade with a design in it. I got cussed out. This is when I was like 13, 14. I got cussed out.
Disloyalty. And
I couldn't play my Xbox for like 3 weeks until I got another haircut. She took my shit. She took my Xbox and hid it in her closet. And it's crazy because I would get home early, like 2 hours before her, and I would just hook that shit up on her TV in her room. So I went from playing on a monitor Xbox to playing on a big ass fucking TV. I'm sitting there like this, playing Call of Duty, and I'm like, neck stiff as shit. I'm not bald, nigga.
Reign ended in 1991 when rebel forces overthrew his government, forcing him to flee to Zimbabwe, where he was granted asylum. In 2006, he was sentenced to death for genocide and crimes against humanity, but he still remains in exile today. Ethiopia continues to struggle with the consequences of his dictatorship, making him one of Africa's most infamous and destructive leaders. Kim Jong-il, born in 1941 in the Soviet Union, was the dictator of North Korea from 1994 until his death in 2011. The son of
2011. Motherfucker.
WLM Honcho cheered. X40. Man, you brought back childhood nightmares about the all over, even over Victio tears.
The even all over. We all had that shit. It was either even all over, and then we all had that phase of the Boosie phase. We all had the same hairstyles.
Kim Il-sung, the founder of North Korea, he was raised in a highly controlled environment, groomed from an early age to succeed his father. He officially took power after Kim Il-sung's death in 1994, continuing the oppressive policies of his father while further isolating North Korea from the world. His rule is marked by widespread human rights abuses, severe economic mismanagement, and a brutal cult of personality. Under Kim Jong-il,
the Mohawk was a choice because you had a great hair. I never had a Mohawk.
Il-'s leadership, North Korea suffered mass starvation, specifically during the famine of the 1990s, which killed an estimated
that skin motherfucker was terrible. That shit was a punishment.
1 to 3 million people. Despite this humanitarian catastrophe,
I cut patches in my head in first grade, and my mama made me go to school like that till it grew back. The guidance counselor still calls me Patches to this day. I was bullied by an adult.
Hey, Bibby, this was you in that video? I knew it. This is Bibby. This is Bibby.
You're keeping tabs on me.
Yo, stop. I got premium.
Yours look different with
Yo, you're violating right now. You're violating me right now. I'm not gonna you violating right now, bro. Stop playing. Stop playing. Like I ain't got premium.
Prioritized military spending and nuclear weapons development over feeding his own people. His
papers. It's big.
What happened to your hair?
What you talking about?
Your head. What happened to your head? That's what I'm talking about.
Don't disrespect me like that. I know you got me on snap, dog.
Yo, you on some nut shit though, cuz. Like, why you outside?
This is big.
Not like that, cuz.
This is my hood. You know that, right?
I'm not worrying about none of that. Your hood on some weird shit. Have you walking around with that nut ass patch?
Dog, don't disrespect me.
Oh, they call you Patch? You on some shit, Patch.
What you talking about?
You on some shit.
Don't know.
Look at that nigga's hair, bro.
His government controlled all aspects of life, with citizens forced to worship him as a near-divine
Man, I bet I took my knees when the Lord came. I'm done.
Figure. He maintained brutal prison camps where political prisoners, including entire families, were subjected to torture, forced labor, and execution. His paranoia led to purges within his government, with many officials being imprisoned or killed on suspicion of disloyalty. Kim Jong-il's obsession with power and his belief in absolute control fueled his oppressive rule. He lived in luxury while his people suffered, indulging in expensive food, alcohol, and entertainment. He justified his brutality with the ideology of Juche, a doctrine of self-reliance that kept North Korea isolated and impoverished. He died in 2011 from a reported heart attack, leaving behind a nation crippled by his policies. His son, Kim Jong-un, succeeded him, continuing the dynasty's repressive rule. Robert Mugabe, born in 1924 in southern Rhodesia,
you can't trust this nigga. Any black person with no lips, you can't trust him.
Which is now Zimbabwe, was the leader of Zimbabwe from 1980 to 2017. He was raised as a highly educated man.
Excuse me?
And who initially fought against British
That nigga got a yam.
colonial rule. He played a key role in the liberation struggle and became Zimbabwe's first prime minister in 1980 after the country gained independence. Initially praised for his leadership, Mugabe soon revealed his authoritarian nature, ruling with an iron fist for nearly 4 decades.
When I was a kid, that man fired so many missiles that we would get even from the business saying everything was fine. Don't worry about the missiles. They're just in the air. They're not going to hit y'all yet. Wait, Ken, did you study abroad?
Mugabe's rule was marked by
This is not the same nose as me.
political violence, economic collapse, and human rights abuses. In the 1980s, he launched the Guku Randuhi massacres, where his forces killed an estimated 20,000 people from the Dabeli ethnic group, whom he saw as a threat. Over time, he became increasingly ruthless, cracking down on opposition parties through intimidation, torture, and rigged elections. His controversial land reform program in the 2000s, which involved violent land seizures from white farmers, resulted in economic devastation, hyperinflation, and widespread food shortages. While he portrayed himself as a champion of African nationalism, he and his inner circle amassed vast personal wealth, while ordinary Zimbabweans suffered. Mugabe's thirst for power and deep-seated paranoia drove him to destroy any opposition, believing he was the only rightful ruler of Zimbabwe. He justified his brutal actions as necessary for maintaining control and eliminating enemies. But in 2007, after years of economic ruin and civil unrest, he was forced to resign in a military coup. He lived in exile in Zimbabwe until his death in 2019 at the age of 95. Once seen as a hero of liberation, he ultimately left Zimbabwe in turmoil with a
These niggas like doing mass genocide, living to see 100 years is crazy. God, get them out of here.
Shattered economy and a broken political system that continues to struggle with the consequences of his rule. Thank you very much for watching this video.
Who is this, nigga? This is you? We ain't scared of you.
And if you learned something, make sure to leave a like. Comment down below your thoughts.
Nigga put this bitch in there like he was a thug. That was a cop little video though. I fuck with it.